Welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to continue looking at solving equations. Today's questions involve simplifying the equation first and then solving the equation. So we are combining all of the algebraic techniques that we have learnt so far all into one question. If we take a look at the first question, we have 3a plus 4 plus 5a minus 6 equals 19. What we need to do first is we need to simplify the left-hand side of the equation by collecting like terms. After we have done that, we will then be able to apply our equation solving methods to solve the equation. So we start off by underlining like terms on the left hand side of the equation. Our first term is 3a, and that is a like term with positive 5a. Plus 4 and minus 6 are not like terms with 3a and plus 5a, but they are like terms with each other. So now we need to combine these together. Rewriting this will give us 3a plus 5a plus 4 minus 6, and I'm making sure to drop down the equals 19 because we have not used that side of the equation yet. 3a plus 5a is 8a. Positive 4 take away 6 is minus 2, and again I'm dropping down the equals 19. We cannot simplify anymore on the left hand side, so now we're going to start solving the equation. Just like in our last lesson, we need to isolate the term and then isolate the variable. So we start off by circling the term that our variable is in, and we can see that we need to undo the minus 2. So we will add 2 to both sides of the equation, and this gets us to 8a, which drops down. The minus 2 and the plus 2 cancel, and 19 add 2 is 21. We've not finished yet because we don't have a equals a value, so now we need to isolate the variable. This means we need to get rid of the 8, and the 8 is multiplying the a, so the opposite operation here is division by 8. 8a divided by 8 leaves us with a, and 21 divided by 8 we will leave as a fraction. So the final answer to this question is a equals 21 over 8. If we have a look at the next question, we can see that we have a bracket. So before we can solve this equation, we need to expand the bracket. This means we need to do a grid method. 2 is going to go on the left, and 3x and plus 4 are going to go in the top row. And multiplying these terms together gives us 6x for 2 times 3x, and positive 8 for 2 times positive 4. These two terms we're going to write underneath the bracket, and we're going to drop down the equals 80 as that has not been used. Now that we have an equation that we feel familiar with, we just use our regular equation solving method. We circle the term that the variable is in, and we need to undo the add 8. So we will subtract 8 from both sides, leaving us with 6x equals 72. And now we need to isolate the variable. So we circle the x, and we need to undo the times by 6. So we will divide both sides by 6, leaving us with the answer x equals 12. Question 3 is going to be very similar, but we now have negative signs involved as well. We start off by expanding the bracket. So we draw a grid method to do this. 4 is on the left, and 5 and then minus 2x go across the top. 4 times 5 is 20, and 4 times minus 2x is going to give us minus 8x. These two answer terms are going to be written underneath our expansion. So 20 minus 8x and the equals 16 is going to drop down. We now need to start by isolating the term, and our term to isolate here is minus 8x, so we need to get rid of this positive 20, and we can do that by subtracting 20 from both sides. That's going to leave us with the minus 8x and the equals dropping down, with 16 take away 20 being equal to minus 4. I now need to isolate the variable, so I need to get rid of the multiply by minus 8. The opposite operation to this is dividing by minus 8. That's going to leave us with x equals minus 4 over minus 8. We have two negative signs in that division, so that will leave us with no negatives in the calculation. So we now go to 4 over 8, and 4 over 8 can be simplified to the final answer of x equals a half. On to our next question, and we can start to see that this is really introducing all of the methods that we've learnt so far. We're going to need to expand the bracket, then we're going to have to simplify the terms on the left hand side, and then we're going to have to solve the equation. So we'll start off by expanding the bracket. 2 will go on the left, and 5a plus 3 will go across the top. 2 times 5a is 10a, and 2 times positive 3 is positive 6. So we'll write those terms underneath the bracket and drop all of the other terms that have not been used down. I now need to collect like terms on the left hand side of this equation. So 10a and minus 3a can be collected together, and then plus 6 and minus 2 can be collected together. I could write out that next step explicitly by writing 10a take away 3a plus 6 take away 2, but to save myself a bit of space, I'm going to do 10a take away 3a, which is 7a, and write that down, and then positive 6 take away 2, which is positive 4, and write that down. The equals 25 needs to drop down to that line as well. Now we need to solve the equation, so I isolate the term, and I need to get rid of the positive 4, so I'll subtract 4 from both sides of the equation. That's going to leave me with 7a equals 21. And now I need to isolate the variable. So circling A means I need to get rid of the times by 7. So I'm going to divide by 7 on both sides of the equation. And this leaves me with the final answer of A equals 3. On to the next question. Here we're going to have to expand both sets of brackets before we can start the rest of the question. Make sure to include this positive symbol within the second expansion. I'm going to do the working out for the expansions at the bottom of the page, and that will be using our grid method. 3 times 2b is 6b, and 3 times positive 3 is positive 9. So I can write 6b, add 9 underneath the first bracket. The second expansion is going to have plus 4 on the left and 2b and plus 5 across the top. Positive 4 times 2b is positive 8b, and positive 4 times positive 5 is positive 20. So I can write positive 8b plus 20 underneath the second bracket. I need to make sure that the equals 15 drops down to the next line, as I haven't used it yet. I now need to collect like terms on the left hand side of the equation. So 6b and plus 8b are like terms, and then plus 9 and plus 20 are also like terms. 6b add 8b is 14b, and 9 add 20 is positive 29. Again, I need to make sure the equals 15 drops down to the next line. I now have an equation that I can solve. So I first start by isolating the term that the variable appears in. So I need to get rid of the add 29. To do that, we will subtract 29 from both sides. This will leave me with the 14b dropping down. The positive 29 and the minus 29 cancel each other out. And 15 take away 29 is minus 14. Now I need to separate the variable. So I need to get rid of the multiply by 14. So I will divide by 14 on both sides. 14b divided by 14 is b, which is what we're looking for. The equals will drop down. Minus 14 divided by 14, well, there's one negative in the calculation, so there's one negative in the answer. And 14 divided by 14 is just 1. So the final answer for this question is b equals minus 1. On to the final question for today, and again it's very similar, but now we have negative signs to worry about as well. But the good news is our regular methods work. So we will need to expand both brackets again, but here again it's really important that this minus is included within the second grid method. Our first grid method will do 2 times 6a for 12a, and 2 times minus 7 for minus 14. Our second grid method has minus 3 on the outside and 3a plus 2 across the top. Minus 3 times 3a is minus 9a, and minus 3 times positive 2 is minus 6. These terms in our grid methods can be written underneath the brackets. And again, it's important that equals 40 drops down. Now we're on the simplifying step of the question, so we need to collect like terms. 12a take away 9a gives us 3a, and minus 14 minus 6 gives us minus 20. Again, equals 40 needs to drop down. Now we're on to the solving equation part of the question. So we need to isolate the term, which is 3a, and we need to get rid of minus 20. So we will add 20 to both sides of the equation. The 3a will drop down, the minus 20 and the add 20 cancel, and 40 add 20 equals 60. We now need to isolate the variable, so I need to get rid of the multiply by 3. So we will divide both sides of the equation by 3, and that's going to leave us with the final answer of A equals 20. And that concludes today's lesson on equations.